Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan. My name is Karishma Gottfried, and I serve this congregation as undergraduate student ministry intern. We extend a very special welcome today to those from the First Unitarian Church of Portland, Oregon, who are joining us this morning. It is one of the blessings of this time of virtual services that we are able to share worship with other UU congregations that are thousands of miles and multiple time zones away. It's also been a gift for me as I've been living and working in Southern Oregon this summer, and I grew up in the UU Fellowship of Corvallis. So it is a very special thing that we are joining together in worship today. I invite you all, wherever and whenever you are watching this service, to join me in lighting a chalice. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. And we light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Although I've heard it said that if you ask 3 UUs for their opinions, you'll get at least 5 answers. And although we have no shared creed as a faith, we are still bound together by the interdependent web and our commitment to community, the covenants, the promises we make with ourselves and each other. I invite you all to join me in invoking the words of our UUAA covenant. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth and love, and to help one another.
To learn, we are here to love. We are here to learn to love ourselves and one another. We are here to learn. We are here to love. We are here to learn to love ourselves and one another. There is only one who's taken many forms. We are here to learn to love the one in everyone. There is only one who's taken many forms. We are here to learn to love the one in everyone. We are here to learn. We are here to love. We are here to learn to love ourselves and one another. We are here to learn. We are here to love. We are here to learn to love ourselves and one another. We are here to learn. We are here to love. We are here to learn to love ourselves and one another. There is only one who's taken many forms. We are here to learn to love the one in everyone. There is only one who's taken many forms. We are here to learn to love the one in everyone. The one in everyone. The one in everyone.
Sofia Valdez, Future Prez, by Andrea Beatty, illustrated by David Roberts. Sofia was a baby who got things done, helping her family before she turned 1. She and Abuela went out every week to help elderly friends around Blue River Creek who couldn't get out and about on their own, and with no place to gather, were stuck home alone. Raking the leaves, taking pets for a walk, or just dropping by for a treat and a talk, Sofia Valdez did as much as she could for her family and friends and her whole neighborhood. A dreamer, a doer, a real-life go-getter. Most people liked good, but Sofia liked better. Each morning, Abuelo walked Sophie to class. They walked home again along Blue River Pass. Making plans, munching cookies, Abuelo and girl, except for that Tuesday when Pup saw the squirrel. With a howl, Pup took off, racing all through the town, over, under, beneath, and around. Sofia scrambled to try to keep up with the hollering man and the bellowing Pup. Up the squirrel ran to the top of a hill made of leftover junk for the local landfill. They reached the tip-top of that mountain of trash, which jiggled and broke with an ear-splitting crash. Down they all tumbled and hit with a thud on a moldy old pumpkin surrounded by mud. "Ouch!" cried Abuelo. He struggled to stand. "A dangerous mess," he said, grasping her hand. The next day, Sofia walked to school solo, but it wasn't the same without her abuelo. "This is not right," declared young Sofia, who glared at Mount Trashmore and got an idea. The very next morning at dawn, she planted a sign at the front of the lawn. She stood back and smiled, and Pup gave a bark. "Get rid of Mount Trashmore. Let's build a new park." Each of her neighbors had something to say about benches and fountains and places to play, meeting spots, gardens, a basket for bees, a rubber duck pond, and a kiosk for cheese. She drew every thought on her map of the park, which was perfectly perfect by 1:15 dark. She drifted to sleep in her soft, cozy bed. Then, bam, she woke up when a thought smacked her head. Her heart skipped a beat as she realized each one of her neighbors had said, "Let me know when it's done." They all thought Sofia could build it alone. But how could one girl do so much on her own? The weight of that thought made her tender heart ache as night thunder growled and she lay wide awake. Then dawn brought a storm and the gloomy sky wept, and the heartsick Sofia finally slept. Abuelo baked cookies when Sophie got up. He gave her a bagful and sneaked one to Pup. He blinked back a tear as he hugged his Sofia. "For courage," he whispered. "Te amo, mi vida." Sofia's knees wobbled. She felt weak inside. She looked at his ankle and quite nearly cried. Though she didn't feel brave or courageous at all, Sofia Valdez went to face City Hall. The mayor's office sent her to room 401, the Blue River Creek Department of Fun, which sent her downstairs to room 302, the Office of Duck Ponds and Cool Things to Do, to the Office of Monkeys, the Department of Cheese, the Division of Fountains, and Meetings and Bees. Then down to the basement, so musty and cramped, where all the town's papers were sorted and stamped. And that's where the clerk said what no one else did. "You can't build a new park. You're only a kid." The words smacked Sofia deep down in her heart. Her plan was kiboshed before it could start. "I think," said Sofia, "I think that law's wrong." But her second grade voice didn't sound very strong. The clerk said, "Clearly, it cannot be done. Do you have any questions?" Sofia said, "One, if you were me and I was you, and he was your grandpa, what would you do?" Well, said the clerk. Then she said nothing at all. She thought and she thought. Then she sent out a call to every employee throughout City Hall. The entire government of Blue River Creek crammed into the office to hear Sophie speak. But her words jumbled up and her cheeks turned bright red as a dozen emotions rushed into her head. Her heart beat so loudly she thought it would crack. The crowd leaned in closer. Sofia leaned back. Then her arm brushed the edge of the old cookie sack. And that was the moment when Sofia first knew being brave means doing the thing you must do, though your heart cracks with fear, though you're just in grade 2. She took a deep breath, looked the mayor in the eye, and though her knees wobbled, she held her head high. Sofia started talking. She spelled out her plan and why it all mattered and how it began, and once she got rolling, she had lots to say about meeting spots, monkeys, and places to play, and other ideas for things they could do to help the town elders and other folks too. She had thoughts on the library, thoughts on the zoo, and perhaps a way to combine the two, and "All right," cried the mayor. "Go start a petition. If the town wants a new park, we'll form a commission." And so young Sofia got right to work with some help from her family and Pup and the clerk. Then others joined in. Not all, but a few, like Miss Lila Greer and the kids in grade 2. There were hearings and surveys and taxes to figure, then bulldozers, cranes, and a blue, bigger digger. They all built that park. That's how it got done, with the hard work of, by, and for everyone. But it began with the dream of one person, just one, who laced up her shoes and then led the way to help Blue River Creek get a new place to play. Now, every evening till long after dark, the town comes together at Citizens Park. They all hold this truth to be self-evident, that Sofia Valdez could grow up to be president. Until then, Sofia, that real-life go-getter, helps Blue River Creek get better and better.
This month, we share our collection with Friends Indeed. Friends Indeed has been serving the Washtenaw County community for nearly 40 years. In those early years, their focus was to fill in the gaps that other nonprofits couldn't reach. And now they've grown to include building the community to end poverty. They currently have 4 programs: direct assistance for emergency needs, transportation, they have a furniture program, and a relationship-based poverty healing program called Circles. The link for giving is UUAA.org/giving.
We've been around for almost 40 years, and we've always taken the time to talk to people. Having that one-on-one people talking is really, really important. It's so easy to live in different bubbles, even though you might all be going to the same Kroger. And that facilitation of relationships really lets people develop empathy for other people. It allows people to step in and help. And the help goes both ways.
The amount of time that they take to do evaluations and profiles and make sure that they are doing the things that the community needs and hearing directly from the community is absolutely amazing. It's hard to see in other organizations, and it's hard just to talk to people because you really are just trying to get through all the struggles you have as an organization. But Friends Indeed takes that step.
Sometimes people, we can't help them, but we'll stay on the line with them and talk to them because they just need somebody to talk to. And I think that the ability to do that and the fact that we recognize how important that is allows us to adapt faster. You know, our services have changed a lot over the years, and it's because we listen.
The writer Resmaa Menakem, in his book, My Grandmother's Hands, says that the primary way that we heal is through our bodies, through what our bodies experience and do, not through what we cognitively figure out. And so I'd like to try one of these body practices with you today. Fair warning, it may make you uncomfortable. And it's okay to be uncomfortable sometimes. But if you know that it's too uncomfortable or for any reason not the right practice for you, you can use this time in whatever way you wish. If you'd like to join in a few minutes of embodied practice, I invite you to join me now by getting comfortable in your seat and closing your eyes if you wish. Find a place of stillness and breathe normally. Notice your breath as it enters your nose, your windpipe, your lungs. For a few seconds, simply follow your breath in and out of your body. Now bring your attention to the bottoms of your feet. Sense the ground beneath them, supporting them. Stay focused there for a few breaths. Now move your attention to your back and notice the sensation of it pressing lightly against the chair or couch. Feel it supporting you, doing what it was designed to do. Now think of a person or a pet or a place that makes you feel safe and secure. Imagine that you are with that person or pet, or that you're in that place now. Let yourself experience that safety and security for a few breaths. As you continue imagining your safe refuge, check in with your body, starting with your shoulders. How do they feel? Are they raised up high or dropped down low? Tight or relaxed? What about your neck, your jaw, your major joints, ankles, knees, hips, wrists, elbows. What about your back, your toes? Stay with the experience for a couple more breaths and notice if anything arises or changes, such as a vibration, a sensation, an image, emotion, impulse, or meaning. Now imagine that comforting person or pet or place has disappeared, and in its place, there's now an angry stranger standing in front of you. The stranger's arms are crossed and they're glaring at you silently. You look into the stranger's eyes, hoping their expression will soften, but it remains unchanged. Now check in with your body again. This time, how do your shoulders feel? Your neck, your jaw? What about your back? Your toes? Gently, one by one, notice all the places in your body where you sense tightness or constriction. Let your attention rest briefly in each place. Now send the angry stranger away and bring back the comforting person, place, or pet. For several breaths, relax in the safety this presence provides once again. Now gently move your attention through your body, from your head to your toes, one more time. Feel into each spot where you sense softness. Stay with each of these for a few breaths. Take a few more breaths, and without rushing, begin to come back to this moment. If you closed your eyes, you can slowly open them. Let's take one more deep breath together. And this time, blow out like you're blowing out a candle. Thank you for the gift of your presence and for joining together in this practice today.
Good morning. My name is Christy Cardinal, and I am a member of First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, and I'm also a seminarian at Starr King School for the Ministry. I have 3 children, a 15-year-old mixed-race daughter, and 2 white, blonde, blue-eyed 10-year-olds, a son and a daughter. I am white, queer, gender chaotic, and human, and I have transcended a couple of class strata through education. I share those details with you because it's important to me that I let you know where my social location is, because we're going to be talking about kids and UU values, and I think those are related. As many parents would likely say, my kids are smart and funny and all around exceptional. They've also learned how to be flexible and resilient with a constellation of multiple houses, plus multiple parents and parental figures. In the summer of 2015, a young white man attended a Bible study at the oldest African Methodist Episcopal church in the country, Emmanuel AME in Charleston, South Carolina. He ended that Bible study by killing 9 Black people, including the minister, and injuring another. The next evening, there was a vigil planned in the town where I live, on a downtown street, and I planned to go. And so that night at dinner, I explained to my kids that I would be missing bedtime because I was attending a vigil, and I told them that a white man had killed Black people in their church, and I needed to be present to that and to witness the vigil and the pain in our community. And my son Milo, all of 4.5 years old then, said, "Why didn't someone give him a button?" "What button?" I asked. "The ones that say Black Lives Matter, like we have at church, like is on my backpack." Maybe he didn't know that Black Lives Matter because no one told him. That Black Lives Matter is something that my children learned at church. They learned it there because it is a UU value. And for my son, in that moment, maybe in all the moments, the first principle was his lived knowledge. One that he couldn't understand how someone didn't know unless they just weren't told. 2 summers before that, the man who killed Trayvon Martin was acquitted of his crimes. At that time, my son was just shy of 3 years old. He had a full head of curly blonde hair and blue eyes so brilliant, only his personality matched. And the day of the verdict, the cultural phenomenon known as J Smooth tweeted that the real danger was not more Trayvon Martins, but more George Zimmermans. A fundamental truth of being a white parent of a white child is that my son will never be Trayvon Martin. And my UU values tell me that my fundamental obligation is to make sure he won't be George Zimmerman either. My older daughter, whose name is Charlotte, just finished her first year of high school in a pandemic. It was an unconventional year, right, to say the least. In one of her first sporting events of high school, one of her friends called someone else gay, and they meant it derogatorily. My daughter, without missing a beat, just said, "Is that even an insult, dude?" And with her calm, good-humored response, she deflated bullying behavior, she called her friend back in, and she let everyone know that she would not brook that nonsense. No one lost their dignity, and they all gained some insight. Nowhere is it more evident to me that the kids are all right than when I notice their commitment to right relationship with each other, with community, and in the world. Like any other sibling group, they disagree and they fight. They get hangry, they get tired, and they react from an under-resourced emotional state. I mean, so do I sometimes. And what I witness, though, every single time, is that they come back together and say some variation of, "I'm sorry, what can I do to help?" They don't wait to be called on it by each other either. They offer that to each other unprompted. And this is a practice they learned at church, had reinforced at home, and also at daycare when they were toddlers. Very simple, "I'm sorry, how can I help?" Not, "What's your evidence that I harmed you?" Not, "I did not." Not, "I didn't mean it like that." "I'm sorry, how can I help?" My youngest daughter, Ruby, is a force of nature. She has stared down grown men who expected her to move on the sidewalk. She identified her role model as Lizzo in a grade school biography assignment. and she will gladly, without reservation, blow an air horn at someone who misgenders a person by using their wrong pronouns. What I'm saying is she keeps us honest. And she is also a master of getting back to right relationship after harm. She's not only patient with her siblings and her adults when they're the ones saying, "I'm sorry, how can I help?" But she is clear and direct when she is the one who's caused harm. There are so many examples of this, I have a hard time even figuring out one to share. It is the fabric of her life, the water she swims in, as we say. She embodies right relationship. She is capable of recognizing when she's harmed someone and being accountable without being defensive or deflecting. I learn so much from these kids every day, these kids I call my queer spawn. I've been asked how to make Unitarian Universalism and church relevant to children, and I'm always stumped for a good answer. I'm not sure how to make church an exciting event for kids. I'll leave that to religious education experts. I am sure, however, it's possible to instill UU values in kids with everyday actions. It's not dramatic. It's not predetermined teachable moments. Rather, it is the moment-to-moment decisions we make as we live our lives. Blessed be, and amen.
Good morning. My name is QuianaDenae Perkins, and I proudly serve this congregation as the coordinator of Congregational Life. I'm excited to be with you this morning to talk about parenting and faith. Before I get started, I do want to call my elders and my ancestors into this place, making it a temporary shelter, making it home. Parenting our faith. I was excited to become a mom. It was a role and title I chose. I was always daughter. I was always sister, niece, and cousin. Those labels came with first breath. They were always. This new title was one I asked for, prayed for, planned for. I couldn't wait for. The birth of Abijah in 2009 made me a mother. I felt honored and chosen. I was somebody's mother. But then in 2010, I added Zarin, who we call Zeki, into the constellation. Abijah is my sun, the brightest light in my sky, and Zarin is my moon. He is my balancing force, and there is no greater love. But if I'm being honest, I had no clue how to be a mom. So over the last 12 years, there's been a lot of hard, beautiful, tender learnings. Some growth initiated internally because of growth and puberty, while other shifts were initiated by outside forces, mainly interconnected social economic factors, not limited to gender, race, class, sexual orientation, resource access, mental health, and accessibility needs. We, and I use the royal we to include their father, their big family, and their bigger community, have to stay present to those truths and guide accordingly. Our role is to help them build the most dynamic survive and thrive toolkit possible. We cannot replicate systems of harm. We are called to be lighthouses, places of refuge in the storm, and we are called to be the keepers of their joy. And one area of joy I get to witness and help create is who they are as spiritual people. Faith was passive in our lives before 2018. Faith looked like being kind to anyone and treating people with dignity and respect. This showed up in little ways, like Abijah giving a kid on the bus her whole snack because he was hungry, or Zeki asking one of my coworkers whom he had just met if they were married to a man or a woman because he made no presumptions about heterosexuality. And for that phase of our lives, the way we were moving around faith was appropriate. In 2018, I took this job at First Unitarian Universalist Congregation. And it also shifted how I was listening and discerning my own call to ministry. As a family, we shifted from passive into practicing. The kids started attending Sunday services and spiritual growth and development classes 3 or 4 times a month. And at home, we had dedicated chalice dinners where we lit a chalice and read our chalice words from our Sunday service and shared icebreaker-style questions and answers about what it meant to be a person of faith. In March of 2020, we all arrived at COVID. COVID brought us an unprecedented world that required we, the royal youth, to radically change how we moved and how we showed up for each other. When shelter in place started, it struck me that we lived 3 states away from my biological family. This meant we would have limited interaction with Black people and that we were not the only family experiencing this loss of connection. The need to gather and support other Black families prompted me to reach out to the leadership of Black Lives of Unitarian Universalist, which we call BLUE, and led to the development of Blueberry Jam, BLUE's religious education program. This ushered us into a new phase of faith journey. We became active and engaged. The weekly Blueberry Jam included a chalice lighting, the naming of a comrade, elder, or ancestor, and a fun activity like making drums with household items. Blueberries became a critical tool in our COVID survival. Abijah got to meet other Black UUs and helped organize a fun game night. Zeki had fun learning how to cook, using math and different kitchen tools, and liked talking Pokemon with other kids. For me, one of the biggest joys was watching my own kids in an online learning community-based environment. They had been doing this for school, however, I wasn't allowed to see it. But watching them, it helped me understand who they were becoming as growing individuals. As the organizer and instructor for Blueberries, I saw how many kids were experiencing Black UU faith leadership for the first time. In this way, all the trusted adults became faith role models for the kids. I loved greeting and validating each child. There is tremendous value in being seen. Some of our most impactful programming blended faith and culture, events like Kwanzaa, Juneteenth, and graduation. We closed each session with a call and response chant called I Love Being Black. I love being Black. I love the color of my skin. It is the skin I am in. I love the texture of my hair, and I rock it everywhere. I love being Black. This refrain became an anthem and a reminder of the beauty in their Blackness. I take pride in role modeling that we are unapologetically Black and Unitarian Universalist. We come whole, we remain whole, and we are blessed and celebrated in our wholeness. I am proud that our faith practice has expanded beyond Sunday and can be found all week, all the time. So what's next? In April of 2021, I was accepted into seminary. I chose Starr King for many reasons, but the big draw was the removal of the residency requirement, meaning that all of my classes are online. This means I will remain at UUAA in a full-time capacity. As we, still the royal youth, look at the fall, we have so many things to consider. Who and how and what is reopening? How will decision-making bodies factor in mutations and science? And personally, how do I thread the UU principles into my professional, seminary, and parenting roles? So much is left unknown. Unknown used to be scary, but I have faith that we have a dynamic toolkit stocked with the year of things that the pandemic has taught us. We can lean into this next phase of COVID with curiosity, kindness, and grace. I want to offer you an epilogue. I want to share that the writing of this sermonette, verbiage that Christy gave me, was hard. Harder than most very personal things I write. This piece is sharing an intimacy about parenting and faith formation that is tender to my heart. We live in a culture that tells us that how my children relate to faith is a reflection of me, of my parenting, and of my ministry. However, I'm a member of the faith that's not bound to culture. We are expansive and leave room for autonomy. There is space for them, there is space for me, and there is space for us. See, I want them to choose to be Black Unitarian Universalist. I want it to be a role and a title they choose. They are always going to be my children. They're always going to be siblings and nibblings. Those titles came with first breath. They were always. This new title is one I hope for and pray for them. But I honor our individual orbits and our collective solar movements. Mama is the earth, Abijah remains the sun, and Zeki remains the moon, and among us there is no greater love. Ashe and amen.
Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, ancestors. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, ancestors. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine.
I want to thank Christy Cardinal for inviting me to participate in this worship with them. It was a beautiful experience. I want to invite you to join us for Social Hour at UUAA.org/Social Hour. If you're new to our community and new to Social Hour, please let the Social Hour host know. I want to thank my elders and ancestors for holding me up in this space, particularly Dr. Hope Johnson, Reverend Hampton, and Elandria Williams. I want to thank you for letting us share our journeys and our families with you. We have faith that the kids are all right.
Beloveds, who do you need to say, "I'm sorry, how can I help?" to? And what do you need to say it? The kids are all right, and they can lead us to right relationship with each other and allow us to hold our faith in deepest care every day. Blessed be, beloveds, and amen.